Well, let's get some more analysis now. We can speak to Sahil Shah, who joins us from London. You're a policy fellow at the European Leadership Network. Thank you so much for being with us. I did what I came to do, declared President Joe Biden. What, in your view, was achieved today?
Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. I think that President Biden made it clear that he needed to have a face-to-face interaction with President Putin to get a better understanding of intentions and also to create the contours and scope for joint action, especially on the strategic stability sides of things.
And obviously, the fact that they met, the fact that they talked, even if it wasn't for as long as some people thought it might be, that's going to do a lot, isn't it, to build something that could be described as trust between the two men? Because let's face it, before these talks, I'd say trust was absolutely zero.
Absolutely. I don't necessarily believe that the same level of trust has been built, say, as when Presidents Reagan and Gorbachev met in Geneva in 1985, as that was a much longer summit with a lot more personal interaction between the two presidents. And this was indeed only a few hours. But what it does do is it helps clarify and it sends a signal to their own governments and to the international community that in the areas where it is mutually beneficial to work together, say on nuclear arms control, that they do see it in their interests to put their countries first and to figure out how they can make improvements.
Absolutely. And just one of the things that struck me listening to the press conferences that followed, I heard President Putin describing President Biden as being very different from President Trump. I mean, talk about stating the obvious. But I'm just wondering how this difference in style and personality between those two US presidents might actually change the dynamic with relations with Moscow moving forwards.
Well, I think President Putin said it best. He said that President Biden is a statesman. President Biden has worked in politics and has covered foreign policy issues in his various positions as a senator, as vice president, and now as president. And he understands how to create processes and dialogue that will result in something meaningful. You know, when it comes to creating a more stable and predictable relationship with Russia, I think that President Biden definitely will be able to lean on his experiences through the Cold War to the early 2000s to now and see the range of ups and downs that have happened and derive some personal lessons that I don't think President Trump would have, because I don't think President Trump was necessarily that interested in global affairs at that time.
And just lastly, I mean, strategically speaking, and picking up on what you're saying and what in fact President Putin said about Joe Biden being a statesman. I mean, what happened today was the crescendo of this 8-day trip to Europe by the US president, his first trip abroad, in fact, since becoming president. And I just wanted to ask, I mean, strategically, how well do you think it was planned, in the sense that it built up to this moment, and now Joe Biden is flying, he'll be flying back to the United States in the next few hours. I mean, is he going to go back with a sense that it's mission accomplished?
Absolutely. I think it is mission accomplished. I think that it was important that President Biden, especially being such a staunch transatlanticist, that he came to Europe first. He met with the various heads of state, especially those who are a part of NATO, and that he had discussions with them about what they hoped that his meeting with President Putin could achieve. Europe is caught in between the United States and Russia. If the United States and Russia have, say, a nuclear conflict or war, then Europe will be caught in the middle. And I think that over the past few years, we've seen during the Trump administration, there was a huge lack of respect given to Europeans and how American behavior affects European security. We saw the demise of multiple treaties, of multiple agreements, and that all put Europe at more risk. So I think that it was important for President Biden to come here to the UK, to go to Brussels, and to really sit down and explain his intentions and also do some fact-finding and sense test his proposals with other heads of state.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Sahil Shah. Thank you very much indeed. Moving on to some other world news now. In